people helping each other, people alone in meditation and contemplation. Beautiful light coming out there now. Good morning, everybody. What do you overrate and what do you underrate? Oftentimes it's about ratings and rankings in life. And some things get overrated and some things get underrated. And some people as well get overrated and some get underrated. Although we could never overrate people because we're made in the image and likeness of the Almighty. By the way, the story we have today from the Gospel is over there at that white spot at the edge of the water. That's Capernaum. That's concretely the Orthodox Church at Capernaum, the Greek Orthodox. So what's overrated and what's underrated? And sometimes we overrate ourselves. But sometimes we could underrate ourselves as well. Sometimes we attribute to ourselves all our accomplishments, but maybe other people had a big role. Imagine the ones that taught us to read, the ones that taught us to write, the ones that taught us to speak. You know, you say hello to a little child and they run in between mom's legs or hide behind grandma's skirt or hold on to dad's hand and they're looking out at an angle because they're shy. How many people have helped us all to grow, to be able to relate to others? Small little things, and maybe others didn't have that opportunity. And probably the one thing we all underrate, mostly, is God. Wow, look at that. There comes the sun. The sun disk is shining. See if I can get that clearer for you. That's really the big discovery of faith, of realizing that there's somebody marvelous that's accompanying us, that's coming into our lives after much devastation and breakdown. It's great when people come to lift us up, not just to build us up when we're starting to grow from scratch, but along the way, and to recognize that help we get. And in the maximum, biggest level, that's God himself who's helping us. And that's called faith. And that's the promise in Isaiah today, that there'll be a little sprout coming out of the ground, a little shoot. That theme recurs frequently through the scriptures, and God will give new growth. God will give new growth. What a blessing New growth is new life. And flourish again. Jerusalem will flourish again. After all the disasters, all the corruption, all the war, all the destruction. And we go back again and again to these texts to be nourished, because that's the great story of life. It's a great source of art and of culture, so that the waves of Scripture roll over us again and again, to renew us, to refresh us, to purify us. And now we have a whole arrangement of readings that will not be reading straight through a book directly, but we'll be taking different passages to hit different points. And the first big point today is faith. It's trusting in this presence of God in our lives. Sometimes we think we have to handle it all. We get discouraged by huge problems and difficulties. It's very rocky and difficult to walk along here on the pathways of life. But somebody carries us. Lots of major failures and major leadership at different levels and different times. Disastrous situations arise. But it's worth praying. It's worth leaning in on God. And that's what the centurion realizes. Jesus has shown up in his life, in his town, and he's a Roman centurion. That's amazing, you know. Over there at that white spot in Capernaum, right across the lake from us, just down from the Mount of Beatitudes there, all those plastics covering the banana plantations. And the centurion comes and he says, "Come and cure my servant." Say, "I want you to cure my servant." He didn't say come, he said come. Let me see here. Let me take out the text for you. It's a very special text. And Jesus himself is amazed at this guy. It's not often that Jesus expresses this kind of amazement. A centurion approached him and appealed to him, "Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed, suffering dreadfully." Jesus said, "I will come and cure him." The centurion said in reply, "I am not worthy to have you enter my roof. Only say the word and my servant will be healed. What a powerful prayer, and what amazing faith. And then he goes on to explain the reasons for his faith, what he understands about Jesus. And Jesus is astonished, and he says, I have not found any such faith. You know, sometimes we underrate some people's faith. We underrate some people's strengths. And this centurion is a foreigner. He's alien. He's an alien. And he's an enemy. Because he's a Roman centurion with 100 soldiers under him, and he's occupying our land. We underrate people and we overrate people, and we underrate God. We could also, in one way, overrate God in the sense that we don't realize that we ourselves have to do stuff. And the biggest stuff we have to do with God is faith. But we also have to take care of things. We also have to be responsible. One extreme is to overrate ourselves, and the other extreme is to not do anything and to not appreciate what we're supposed to do. Very special light coming out there. There's very special light coming out of God's words for us today. He's not alien, we're part of his family. And he says, you know, I have slaves. And the same word is used for servant and for slave. So one thing is to relate to somebody as a servant, and another one is to relate to him as a slave. A slave is like a general term, you know, this person's slaves, you know, it's a slave to do all the work for me, says this Roman centurion. But when he says my servant, he has a better relationship. You know, we're more deeply related to each other than we think. We're not as alien as we think. Isn't that amazing, Sky? All the way down to the sunrise. People aren't that distant from us. It's great to see that centurion having such affection and love for his servant. Such compassion. He is suffering dreadfully. Please help. Let's look at every human being like that. We leave it like that for today, people. Let the readings inspire you. Let the waves wash over you. The waves of Scripture to renew us. So we can sprout again and some life can come back on that old tree. God bless you. See you later, alligators.